Operation Eagle Eye was a national-scale operation run by the Republican National Committee in order to prevent fraudulent voters from casting a ballot. This operation tended to target African Americans. The operation began in 1962 as a precursor and trial run to the 1964 presidential election. Operation Eagle Eye appeared in the 1964 Republican National Committee Handbook, in which there were outlined guides of how to prevent voter fraud and what kinds of instances required those preventions. At meetings, Republican leaders such as future Chief Justice William Rehnquist trained poll watchers and challengers to do whatever necessary to prevent African Americans from voting. Even if they were unable to prevent an African American from voting, the holdup would create a long line which would discourage many other would-be voters from casting a ballot. Main tactics involved intimidation, browbeating, and press involvement. Many newspapers even reported on Operation Eagle Eye before the election because the Republican National Committee wanted the public to be aware of what was happening and therefore prevent fraudulent voters, aka African Americans, from voting. On Election Day, poll watchers took to cameras to document who was voting in hopes that people might be scared off. For this reason, there are pictures of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and other African Americans casting ballots. Another major method employed through Operation Eagle Eye was literacy tests. The Louisiana literacy test was incredibly effective, 30 questions and only 10 minutes. All answers must be correct in order to vote. In 2014, a group of Harvard students attempted the same test, and not a single person passed. Checking for identification was yet another way to prevent voters from casting a ballot. Even though states like New York did not require identification, newspapers encouraged voters to still carry it with them to polling stations because they could be questioned by poll watchers and required to present it anyway. In Houston, a non-existent Harris County Negro Protective Association signed and distributed handbills incorrectly stating that if African Americans had received tickets, made child support payments, were questioned by police, have not acted as witnesses or defendants in court, or have not paid court-ordered fines in the past 5 years, they could be arrested upon voting. The Miami Herald stated, "Voters by the hundreds, perplexed and downright scared, were snarled yesterday in partisan poll watching. Overzealousness and challenges to Negroes dissuaded voters from entering booths, delayed their vote, and otherwise disrupted normal procedure. The polls became so hectic that a circuit court judge ordered an injunction against Republicans to stop illegal mass challenging without cause, conducted in such manner as to obstruct the orderly conduct of this election." In Chicago, the Republican National Committee dispatched 10,000 challengers to highly African American populated districts. Operation Eagle Eye was applied so much in St. George, South Carolina, that the NAACP involved the FBI after learning that 1 in every 3 African Americans were challenged. They even claimed that some white people believed to be supporting the Democratic presidential ticket were also being challenged without cause. At the end of Election Day, November 3, 1964, 35 selected cities were supposedly affected at least. Operation Eagle Eye's director, Charles R. Barr, most likely affected the 1,250,000 people he had hoped to. While it is impossible to say exactly how many people were prevented from casting a ballot because of both the direct and indirect measures the Republican National Committee took in 1964, this was the first time a party had successfully managed a national-scale operation of voter suppression to this degree for a presidential race. After his death in 2005, more information regarding Rehnquist's hearings in 1986 to be Chief Justice were released, revealing more about his role as a proponent of Operation Eagle Eye and as a trainer for poll watchers. Although the Republican Party candidate Barry Goldwater lost, only capturing 6 states, the National Committee proved voter suppression could be achieved at a national level. Operation Eagle Eye, despite the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and other legislation aimed to allow African Americans to vote, was incredibly successful and marked the start of a new era of national voter suppression that continued even into the 1990s.